What's up, YouTube? My name is Alan C. Pennington. I'm a duelist from Tampa, Florida, and I also write articles for thegameacademyonline.com, which is a local store. Now, I know some people don't like to read articles or whatever, I can understand that. I also figure, in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, there's probably some people who actually can't read. So if you're a visual learner, whatever your excuse is, you can always watch my videos rather than read my articles, or I suppose you can do both. But I like to talk about a deck here that I've been testing this whole format. Now, on a scale of 1 to awesome, it's pretty awesome. It's fun, it's innovative, it's different, it's very competitive, it holds its own against all the top tier decks. And let me break it down for you. We're playing 37 monsters and 3 spells. Now, that might seem unusual, but we justify it with this card here, Magical Merchant. Now, what this guy's going to do is he's going to flip over, hopefully 10, 15, even 20, 25 monsters. The more, the better. And then he's going to get one of these. Now, this is great, because we were playing a lot of monsters that just have awesome effects when they're in the grave. So, we're going to flip over Cold Wave or Trunade, or Monster Reborn. Cold Wave and Trunade stun the back rows, whereas Monster Reborn is just the nuts. So, whichever spell you flip over, you're going to be happy with the end result. Now, we also got Rykos to mill. Mill 3, destroy a card on the field. What's not to like there? Ryko is pretty much a beast. We also got Gallis and Witch of the Black Rose, which don't really see a lot of play, so you might have to wiki those guys over there if you don't know what they do. Basically, Gallis, you mill a card if it's a monster, special summon it from your hand, and they, take a Dark Strike effect, which is pretty cool. And then Witch, flip over the top card if it's a monster, add it to your hand, and it's also a level 4 tuner, a 1700 attack. So those guys are pretty cool. Now, if you flip over one of your 3 spells, they kill themselves. So it sucks that they're kind of suicidal, and they should probably see a psychologist about that. But if you're not a horribly unlucky person, you won't have to worry about that very much. Now, these are the guys we're actually trying to mill here. 3 Sirocco, 3 Vayu, Plague, and Necro. Necro stops attacks, which is great against Glads. And the other 7 guys, they basically allow you to synchro out of the grave, which is cool since we're just putting tons of cards in our grave. Now, Grepher can also put, one of those 8 cards in our grave, hopefully by pitching another one. For example, pitch Vayu from your hand, put Sirocco in the grave, make an Armed Wing. It's a great play. Also, filling up your grave with Dark sets up for Dark Creator or Dark Armed Dragon. Effect Veiler is the best card out of Duelist Revolution, hands down. Sorry, not Pot of Duality. And it protects your initial setups. Make sure you don't get Gazerist early on, or stops a Secular play, stops Celestia, stops a Caius play, whatever. It makes sure that your opponent doesn't take over the game with one of their effect monsters. Now, these are our bombs here. These are the guys we're going to use to swarm the field, and they might even just win the game all by themselves. Dark Arm and Chaos Sorcerer don't really need an introduction, but Dark Creator is actually a great card in this deck. If things go your way, you're going to do a turn 1 Merchant, turn 2 Dark Creator. Dark Creator, I often like to bring back Grepher if possible, and then use Grepher's effect, pitch, a card from my hand, put a card in the grave, and then synchro out of my grave. So, if you play Dark Creator right, it's often going to be, often allows you to put 3 monsters on the field of the cost of itself and a card in hand, which is great. Gorz is, a great card by itself. Your opponent pushes, you drop Gorz, and you push back harder than they do, and hopefully win the game. Caius clears the field of any problem card. It's a dark. It's very easy to play since you got a ton of special summons. Cyber Dragon, it helps your Glad and Machina matchups out substantially, and it's a beat stick, which, is always good. Gale is the best tuner in the game. You can special summon it a lot in this deck since you're actually playing a decent amount of Blackwings. And it's never going to be a dead card. You're never going to be like, Oh man, I drew Gale. Can't do anything with it. Now, let me give you an idea of how this deck works. Basically, you're gonna set a card like Merchant or Ryko turn 1, use their effects. You know, if you don't have one of those turn 1, maybe you play a Witch of the Black Rose or whatever, maybe you set a Vayu, whatever. So you do a play like that early on. And then mid-game, you know, if your opponent's being a bit more passive, you might want to Caius some of their guys or whatever, get in there with him, get some card advantage, why not? And then you're gonna wait for an opening. And then once you see that opening, you're going to swarm the field for game. You're going to use Dark Grepher, Chaos Sorcerer, Synchro with your Grave, whatever. You know, it might seem like OTKing is kind of hard, but I actually kill on my third turn, you know, a lot of the time. If you're a sack, you might even kill, you know, turn 2. Don't think there's any way the deck can kill turn 1, but you can certainly take control of the game by turn 1. I've gone Cold Wave, Grepher, Dark Arm before on turn 1, which is pretty awesome. Now, as far as the matchups go, your hardest matchups are Glads and Heralds. Luckily, Herald doesn't see a lot of play, but your game plan against them is hopefully you just get a better hand than they do, and, you know, they stumble a bit, and you win quickly. If they do manage to get a turn 1 Herald, probably the best approach would be to try to synchro for Red Dragon Archfiend, attack over him. Christia's pretty difficult to deal with, but unless you're playing against the turbo version with all the normal monsters, by the time Christia comes out, you're hopefully already in control of the game. Glad's Chariot locks are pretty hard to play around, although it is possible. Effect Veiler is great against Glad since it stops all their big plays. But if you don't have an Effect Veiler, if they get a Chariot, it's pretty difficult. Although it's only slightly less than 50%. Blackwings is also a close call, although Sirocco helps you, helps you attack over whatever they have. It's always great against Blackwings. Against decks like all the Swarm decks, X-Sabers, Lightsworn, Six Samurai, you're just straight up better than them, because you do exactly what they do, but more quickly, efficiently, and consistently. So you don't really have to worry about those decks. Against X-Sabers, though, be sure to watch out for a Fulham Knight, because if he attacks over one of your sets, you could be in trouble. That's about it, really. There's also Quick Draw, but you shouldn't have too much problem with that either, since, you just have just as much card advantage as they do, but you can put threats on the field a lot easier. Sometimes you don't want to overextend too much, because they can play Black Rose really easily, so try to keep that in mind. But, I mean, if you see game on the table, you obviously go for it. So that's about it. This deck is ridiculously fun to play. I'd recommend it for any tournament, locals, regional, YCS. People don't really see it coming. It can catch a lot of people off guard. One of my favorite things I was playing this deck was, I beat someone. After the match, he complained, man, if I hadn't have drawn an all-monster hand, I might have won. And I'm like, well, bro, I drew an all-monster hand too. So, you don't have to worry about drawing all monsters or all spells or traps, because, your deck's just already prepared to deal with that. So that's about it for today. Don't have time to go over Side and Extra, but it will be posted in the video description, so you can look over that and get an idea of what I'm playing in the board and whatnot. So, all you duelists out there, remember, not everyone can be a master, but for those who can't, there's always Alan C. Pennington. See ya.